The Maple Leafs get set for a do-or-die Game 5 tonight, but will they be with or without Auston Matthews? Let's get into it on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I gotta admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic game Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. Leafs and Bruins, Game 5 tonight, do or die. How we feeling, Dave? How we feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see. I mean, I'm not nervous. I'm not feeling like at this rate. I think a lot of emotional energy has been spent on this team.
Oh no, have we hit apathetic stage?
I'm just at a point where, like, you know what? You get to a point where, like, at what point are you gonna just let it all boil in and you're gonna scream? Like, I'm Italian, we do it every day, right? Like, I reach that high even without even trying sometimes. So for me, yeah, I mean, I want to see what this team does. I'm obviously, you know, a lot's been said the last few days. There's a lot going on with this Leafs team, you know, off the ice, on the ice. I'm curious to see who's going to lead the charge because it's do or die. And it's been a while since they've been in a position like this, I will say.
What do you mean by that?
Like early in the season, their season could be done. Like in the series, like I don't remember the last time the team was in like a 3-1 deficit.
Last year, Florida. They eliminated in 5 games against Florida.
I mean, like first round.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because they were 3-0. They were 3-0 last year, right? Like that's what I mean. Like this early in the playoffs, first round. Last year was a little different because they won the first round.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's early in the first round. I should have clarified that.
They have at least been able to stretch these games, even when they were going through the turmoil of not being able to get over the hump. At least they were pushing games to 7. Right. Yeah. Like Washington won 6, and then they won 7 with Boston, 7 with Boston. The Columbus series, I guess, won 5 games, whatever, if you want to call that the playoffs.
They went to the deciding game.
Do or die for both teams. Montreal went to 7, and both of the Tampa series went to 7 as well. You're right. This is the first time that the Leafs might be bowing out early, or at least are in that position where that could end up being the case. And it's not going to be easy tonight, man. And the Leafs today practicing without Auston Matthews in the lineup. His status currently unclear, uncertain of whether he's going to play tonight. He will travel with the team down to Boston, but is going to be a game time decision with this mysterious illness that apparently is plaguing him to the point where he might not be available for this game. And I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know what's going on. I was listening to Overdrive earlier today, and they seem to think that illness is what they're saying, but really there's something else that's going on here that's causing this guy to be out of the game. Whether it's an injury of some kind, I don't know, but he could be not available for Toronto, and that makes tonight a lot more difficult for a lot more players on this roster to try and get it done, because he's been the catalyst all year long. He's been their best player. He scored goals nearly each and every game, and he's been the best player for them this series. Without him, oh boy, you're going to need a lot of guys to step up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, even like you saw in Game 4, where at least weren't playing well. Matthews, we knew wasn't at his best.
Yeah.
it kind of shows just kind of the how big of a when you look at how Auston Matthews plays, and then like how the tier below, in my opinion, right?
Discrepancy from Austin
Yeah,
at his best to not at his best, I guess.
exactly. And like how the trickle down effect it has on the team, which I'm kind of surprised about, because there are times during the season where Auston Matthews is not necessarily at his best, but other guys kind of step up and put this team on their back. Like Nylander's done it a few times, Marner's done it a few times. That to me has been the problem. It's like not. Yeah, would you like all three to be going at once? Well, we'd all like all three of them to be playing together at once. But it's the fact that we're not getting that collective effort. And then, you look at, we just watched that Tampa Florida series. Barkov, chance to put this series away.
He did.
And he did.
Killer instinct in that one. Killer instinct.
Bring back the killer instinct talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Bruins have shown that they've had killer instinct in the past. We'll see. We'll see if they can do it. Although, if there's optimism in tonight, I suppose, or optimism for the Leaf fans, if you're trying to look at a glass half full as opposed to half empty, the Bruins were in this exact same spot against the Florida Panthers last year. They were up 3-1 in the series. They did have home ice advantage going back to Boston for Game 5. Had a chance to close it out and didn't. And Florida stayed alive, pushed it to 7, and ended up winning that Game 7, I think, in overtime. So the Bruins, you don't have to look far back to see them having, a bit of a monumental collapse and losing to the underdog. So if you're Toronto, you've got to just keep that in mind. Like, hey, the Bruins, they might be pressing a little bit tonight to try and make sure that they finish things off so that what happened last year doesn't happen again this year. But at the same time, if they're focusing on that and that pressure weighs on them to try and close it out in 5, perhaps that's an opportunity for Toronto to take advantage of, the Bruins and that type of pressure potentially. But again, it's going to take a full team effort, and you're going to need to get the guys to step up. Especially if, again, Auston Matthews is unavailable to play tonight. You're going to need Mitch Marner to play his best game, not just of the series, but probably of the season. Like, Mitch Marner he's been good this year. There was times where he went through a stretch of a few weeks where it was, you saw the all-star winger Mitch Marner show up. But for the most part, there was injury also, which clearly, derailed the season. But for the most part, he hasn't been at his best for most of the season. It'd be nice if that showed up tonight. And I think a lot of eyeballs will be on him. And, basically saying, Matthews isn't here. Mitch, you're paid to be the next guy. You need to take over and be that dude, right? There's been a target on his back all series long. He can silence a lot of that with a special kind of game tonight where he takes it over and helps his team win and stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's paid to do. That's literally why you pay a guy the superstar rate, I will say. And he hasn't brought it. I understand that people are saying, and I get the people were bringing up production. I think it was a J Fresh. Somebody brought up like his assist rates and points rate. And I'm like, that's fine and dandy. But when it comes to taking over a game, when was the last time we said Mitch Marner took this game over in the playoffs?
Yeah. Whereas Mitch Marner was the best player on in the playoffs? Oh, yeah. That's never happened. We've never seen.
Yeah. Like we've said it in the regular season. We've seen that in the regular season, but as everyone has kind of been saying, and it's become a lot more apparent this year, the playoffs, you have to bring a different mentality in the playoffs. And we have not seen that from Marner, right?
Yeah.
Willie has brought it in parts, right?
Yeah. That Montreal series, he stepped up big time with Tavares out. He took over that line. The Columbus series, Willie played well. Willie has been a playoff performer. Now, he hasn't necessarily gone like Super Saiyan mode like we've seen Auston Matthews do like he did in Game 2. I don't know if Willie has that next specialness tier to his game where he can do that, where he can impact the game on a 200-foot level, unfortunately. But Marner and Matthews can. right? And if Matthews can't go, Marner's going to need to do that tonight to give this team even a speck of a chance. They're going to need to, get a lot of this. They need to get a lot out of whichever goaltender they go with. They haven't announced a starter yet. We can get into the debate about who we might choose, but special teams are going to need to come up big tonight. They cannot lose a special teams battle again. A lot of things are going to have to go right for Toronto to extend the series tonight, and it does get a lot harder if Matthews is not going to be in the lineup. Why don't we take a break? Let's come back and show you what the practice lines looked like today with Matthews absent, so what they might look like tonight in Game 5. So we'll get to that and more on the other side. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, it's game off. We got to pause here. We got to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there is just so much good stuff to talk about with this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments. You can work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you unlock. And there's so much more to get. You can get unique stickers. You can trade with your friends and family to complete albums for big prizes. They've got cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. And they've got awesome emojis too. You can taunt your friends. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's also new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's also always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Hello and welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you here on the pod. Quickly, just a reminder, round one is still open for now. Lots of series sit at 3-1. Obviously, Leafs and Bruins. You've got Tampa's gone. Florida's already through now. But tonight, there's 4 games. All 4 games are 3-1. So round one is quickly coming to a close. So that means you do not have much more time to make sure that you are signed up for our Auston Matthews jersey giveaway. Dave, why don't you remind those how exactly they can get involved and be eligible for an Auston Matthews jersey?
Yeah, so obviously, if you go, whether you listen to the podcast audio-wise or whether you're listening on YouTube, in the description of the podcast, there's a link to a Google form. You have to fill out the Google form to say that to give us all your information. We're not asking for much, just basic contact information so that when we do the draw, we can get in touch with you and get you the jersey. It's not enough to just be subscribed to the podcast on YouTube. That's not how we're doing it. You have to fill out the Google form to be a part of this contest.
Yes. So do that now. Again, it's in the show notes, show description, and round one could be over within the week the way that games are going. So not much more time to get yourself signed up for that jersey. All right. Tonight, Game 5. We'll see if the Leafs can continue into their season and keep their I was gonna say round one alive. I guess I don't really know how else to word that. It's do or die Game 5 tonight. We already spoke on how Auston Matthews is going to be essentially a game time decision with an illness, with air quotes, illness tonight, and they were practicing on Monday as if he was not going to be there. Now, I don't know if you read into that or if you want to read into that, but that probably leans to me that there is a more likely chance he misses than plays tonight. I don't know if you read that any differently, but that's kind of where I'm leaning if they were practicing with guys in certain positions instead of using like an insert player,
right? Like
his place.
Well, the first time he wasn't at practice, Connor Dewar took his spot. So that usually means when you bring a fourth liner up to the top line, that usually means he's taking his place.
Practice body.
Yeah, the fact that Domi moved there, it definitely leans more to suggest they're preparing. The word is that they're preparing for him not to play. So
Yeah.
in order to do that, you need to be able to look at what your line is going to look like without him out. Sort of like what happened in Game 4, where he gets pulled after 2 periods, and you're like, okay, lines are going to have to change now. What are we going to do? So I think you're just preparing for obviously the worst case scenario. If he
Yeah.
does end up being able to go, then you revert back to the old lines from the previous game. Like that's not a huge deal. But I think Keefe just understands that, he can't leave it to chance. The fact that he is so uncertain if he's going to play, he can't just say, all right, we'll just go with a placeholder there and hope that he plays. I think you have to be a little more proactive, especially 5-on-5, especially on the power play where he plays a lot of minutes, and you got to make sure you're covered in that area.
Yeah, placeholder was the word that I was looking for. So thank you for using that terminology there. So what do they look like, you ask? So if you take a look at the lines in practice today, you do have Max Domi taking over as that 1C for Auston Matthews. He's got Bertuzzi and Mitch Marner on his flank. So you've got Bertuzzi, Domi, and Marner. I mean, Domi and Marner, like they've had chemistry together. Like those two won a Memorial Cup together back in the day. So they've got chemistry. And you put Tyler Bertuzzi on that line. Him and Domi have been playing together for quite some time. Marner's played with them at points this year. We'll see what that line looks like. But shifting Domi back into the middle is the kind of the move they're doing there, which keeps Tavares as the second line center. Nylander moving back to the right wing next to him. Matthew Knies moving back up with Tavares. So Knies, Tavares, and Nylander is the second line. You've got Nick Robertson checking back in with Pontus Holmberg and Kalle Järnkrok, and then Connor Dewar, David Kampf, and Ryan Reeves as the fourth line. So that's what the lineup is looking like if Auston Matthews misses tonight. And here's what I'll say. This is what would worry me about this lineup without Matthews. That second line using it as a matchup line, which is what I believe they would want to do, use Tavares as the matchup kind of center as opposed to Max Domi. What worries me is Marner's done a really good job defending David Pastrnak, and he's kept him in check. As much as people are, throwing shade at Mitch Marner, saying that he's been awful and terrible defensively, he's been responsible, and he has kept that line at bay for the most part. Outside of the power play, Pastrnak hasn't been all that dangerous, I think we could all say. That being said, if Marner's no longer on that line and it's now William Nylander defending David Pastrnak in his own zone, can Willie be as effective as Mitch Marner was? I'm not sold that is the case, but hopefully I would definitely say that that's a worry of mine going into tonight's game, though, Dave. What do you think about that?
Well, I had a different worry, which was on that top line of Domi, Bertuzzi, Marner. Who's gonna be the one to
Bertuzzi? The answer is Bertuzzi is gonna be the
main,
trigger man.
Yeah, the trigger man. I guess is Bertuzzi.
Yeah, that's gonna be my best bet tonight too. By the way, my best bet: Bertuzzi over 2.5 shots.
Okay, that probably makes a lot of sense.
In my opinion, I mean, Domi could shoot the puck. Realistically, I wonder if almost to your point, who's going to shoot? Because I think it's going to be Bertuzzi, but I don't necessarily think it has to be him.
I think Domi can afford to shoot a bit more.
For sure. And I think this may actually end up working out possibly to Toronto's benefit, where it's, okay, we don't have to, filter the puck to Auston. We could, if we see a lane, we can just shoot, right? No one's a bona fide goal scorer on this line. So if we just shoot pucks on net, we'll just shoot pucks on net, right? And in terms of Domi, maybe you do see Domi and Marner kind of passing around, and they do shoot on net, and then they've got Bertuzzi going to the net, screening goalies, hoping for a rebound, banging a garbage goal. Maybe that's a possibility, right? As opposed to Matthews, who kind of stays a little perimeter and tries to find a soft open spot, in low inside the faceoff dots. That's kind of where his market has been a lot of the time, or like high in the slot in a way. Bertuzzi will just go to the net, right? Net front presence. So I think it's possible that could actually work out from an offensive standpoint. I don't hate how that line looks and could produce tonight. Just defensively, I don't have a whole lot of conviction that they're going to get a lot of D-zone faceoffs. I would imagine that's going to go with Tavares and Nyes, and then you just hope and pray that Willie, who was the guy who kind of snapped on the bench and was like, guys, let's just play. Like, let's go. Like, he was kind of the grown up in the room, almost the grown up on the bench during that spat that day. Hopefully, maybe that was a turning point, like a light bulb, and maybe he will commit to more of a 200-foot game. I think that's what you got to hope for if they are going to be that checking line.
I think Matthew Nyes is going to have to be relied upon a little bit more too defensively.
Yeah.
And he's made some good defensive plays in this.
You got to make sure to take penalties.
He's just got to make smarter decisions, not just penalties, just smarter decisions with the puck. The one thing I like about the Tavares, Nyes, Nylander combo is that for sure Nylander is going to be the guy that's going to be the one to take the puck out of the zone, and he's the guy that I can trust to do that. He's got the skating. Every line sort of has a guy that should be able to take this puck and get it out of the zone, right, in this kind of configuration here. So that's kind of maybe where I think Nylander's game could work out well. The plan should be, how do we not, again, match up against Boston, but how do we make Boston play in their own end more?
Yes, that would be ideal.
Right?
That would be ideal. Yeah, playing more so in their own end. And look, at 5-on-5, they've done that. That's the thing. The Leafs have done that. The Leafs, I was looking into the numbers earlier tonight. At 5-on-5, Toronto's generated 20% more scoring chances. They've generated 13% more high danger chances. Just one team is converting on those chances, and one team isn't. That's been the difference, along with the special teams, obviously. But at 5-on-5, it's a difference of finishing off on those chances. You know what I mean? So tonight, hopefully, Toronto can continue to generate, but maybe find the back of the net once or twice more would be nice. What are we at here? 11 of 12 or 10 of 11 last playoff games with 2 goals or less, being held to 2 goals or less. It's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. They need 3, 4, 5 goals tonight if they're going to even stand a chance to keep their season alive, in my opinion. I don't think whoever is going to be in net, whether it's Joseph Woll or Ilya Samsonov, is going to pitch a shutout tonight. I think it's unlikely that's going to happen. So you're going to need more than a couple of goals to keep playing this year. Why don't we take another break? We'll come back and we'll get into the debate on who should start in net, because Keefe didn't say who should or who will, but who do we think might be the guy going forward? And there's also 3 other games, 3 other teams facing elimination tonight. So we'll quickly take a peek at the other series and maybe see who we think will stay alive and who's going to be shaking hands at the end of each of those games. So we'll get to all that and more on the other side. It's Mike DiStefano with David Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you. Leafs do or die Game 5 tonight as they head down to Beantown. They are taking on the Boston Bruins, potentially without Auston Matthews. He'll be a game-time decision. And what also apparently is going to be a game time decision, or at least we won't find out until closer to game time, is who's going to be the starting goaltender for the Maple Leafs tonight. Will it be Ilya Samsonov, who started each of the last 4 games for Toronto, or will it be Joseph Woll, the guy who finished the game for Toronto the other night and stopped every single shot he faced and looked pretty good and pretty calm between the pipes? Dave, 2-part question. Who do you think the Leafs will go with in net tonight, and who do you think should go in net tonight?
I'm gonna go with who I think it should be, Joseph Woll.
Yeah.
Who do I think? Listening to Sheldon Keefe's comments, I do think it's Joseph Woll. And
No,
seeing what would happen in practice.
I completely agree with you. I think it's Joseph Woll's net now. I really, really do. I think, like, it's not as though Samsonov was getting blown out. Like, typically 3-0 isn't a pull-worthy play unless you feel like you need to get Joseph Woll in there, let him see some live pucks, see how he looks, kind of and evaluate. All right, do we think we should go to him for game 5? Like, that game may have been over at 3-0 heading into the third. He probably knew that, Sheldon Keefe, and just decided, worst case scenario, they keep piling it on and we know Woll can't handle it. Best case scenario, maybe the spark something, we come back, win the game, or at the very least, we find out, all right, Joseph Woll, he was great, made some big stops, he was calm, he was up for the challenge. We're going to go with him to game 5. And I think that's ultimately probably, that's what I saw. That was my, final outcome out of those 20 minutes of play that he gave us, or that he gave the Maple Leafs. I think Sheldon Keefe probably saw it the same way. And why they're keeping things tight to the vest, I do not know. I really don't. I think most people think it's going to be and should be Joseph Woll. It's do or die, though. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, who they end up going with. But I think it's going to be Woll as well. And he gives them the best chance to win, ultimately, at this point.
Well, and Sheldon Keefe said after practice, special teams and goaltending are 2 areas that we have to be better in, and they're connected in a lot of ways.
100% they are.
So I'm like, okay. I went and looked at the numbers. Who do you think has the worst goal saved above average?
Above average or above expected?
I think it's above average. Who do you think has the worst?
Shot in the dark, gonna go with Ilya Samsonov.
It's actually not Samsonov. He's second. It's actually Semyon Varlamov has had the worst goal saved above average in the playoffs so far at 4-on-5.
Mm-hmm.
Samsonov's right behind him. It's
at 4-on-5. Okay.
Yeah, on the I was gonna say on the, because again, I think they're looking at the fact that they're not getting the save that they're hoping to get. Connor Hellebuyck is also third. Has not been a good playoff for Connor Hellebuyck. It's been a weird one for goaltenders, in my opinion. Like, Vancouver's gone with 3 goaltenders. Kind of also makes me wonder if you play with a little more structure, like Vancouver's playing, probably a little better off.
Yeah, like you allow 14 shots in a hockey game, should be okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I think when you look at Samsonov, especially I think they were probably not happy with how he played that power play goal by Marchand, because he doesn't do a good job getting around the guy who's screening him. And because he's so far committed out of the net of the front there, he had no idea that puck was going to Marchand, who was just sitting there on the side there and had pretty much an open net to shoot at. Yeah. I do think they want to go with someone. We know Joseph Woll is more of the sound structure type goaltender. You know what his positioning is, what makes him such a good goaltender, or before he got hurt, right? And I think that's something that they're going to want to rely on. Just that calmness in the net. He knows where his positioning is more sound. Samsonov, he hasn't been terrible, but there are times where I'm watching him play. I don't know if he's just not fully seeing the puck well. He's not tracking things well, and he's always kind of doubling and looking back behind him, even when a shot is missed on net. he's kind of doubling back and not sure where the puck is.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think it comes down to you need something. I think they need something different. And like Keefe said, like goaltending has not been the issue for this team. I do want to come out and say that it is very clearly not like that. It's this series.
We're not crapping on the goaltending.
Not on goal. Like Samsonov has given them adequate enough goaltending that they probably should have won a couple of games. Realistically, they should have won a couple games based on the adequate average goaltending that Samsonov has given them. The problem is they just aren't scoring any goals. He's getting no run support. Like he's losing games 3-1. Like, I mean, 2-1. Like that's just what's happening, right? You give up 3 goals and that's going to be curtains for you. Because this team can't score 3 goals. Like the Jays, they can only score 5 runs. Although they did score 6, so maybe that means the Leafs, an omen for the Leafs, that they can get a 3rd or 4th goal tonight since the Jays got 6. Huh? A little cross sport. Mojo? I don't know. Perhaps. Maybe. But ultimately, like if I look at the 2 goaltenders, who's more likely to steal a game? What I've seen this year, Joseph Woll has been that guy, right? Joseph Woll, prior to the injury, stole a few games for the Maple Leafs. And everyone says you got to get at least one win, has to be a stolen victory by your goaltender. Your goalie's got to steal at least one in a series. And tonight might have to be that night, especially with Auston Matthews. Even if he does play, clearly not at 100%, you're going to need a big time performance from your goaltender. I do believe that that's going to be the case. And like we mentioned, Pasternak may be a little bit more free tonight without Marner attached to him. So Pasta might be a little bit more dangerous tonight as well. So another reason to think like, hey, you got to have someone out there who can make those saves and make those cross crease, stops. And Joseph Woll's been able to do those throughout the season. So I think Woll should be the guy. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see how it all plays out, I guess. Really quickly, Dave, Leafs not the only team facing elimination tonight. The Predators, the Kings, and the Islanders also all down 3-1 in the series. Of the 4 teams who could be sent home tonight, how many of them stay alive?
Ooh, I'm going to go with Jets. I think the Jets, like if the thing is the Jets are just a Connor Hellebuyck playing like Connor Hellebuyck away from at least winning a game. Like I think he hasn't played well. Jets haven't also played well, but I think Connor Hellebuyck can steal. Talk about steal a game. Connor Hellebuyck is definitely capable of doing it. But no, I think the Islanders are cooked, and I think the Predators are as well. Like if you can't beat the 3rd string goaltender, and like the Canucks are not even putting up a lot of shots. Like UC Saros has been 14. UC Saros. I mean, everyone in our Discord loves UC Saros, and I posted his save percentage through the playoffs so far.
Yeah,
like he's been worse than all 3 goaltenders that the Canucks have played.
Yes, but I don't know.
At the same time, when you're not getting a bunch of shots, you let in 2 or 3 goals on like 16 shots, your save percentage is going to be god awful.
Yeah, 16 shots, but like 11 of them high danger chances.
Oh, the goals they've scored the Canucks, like he's like swimming because guys are like,
dude, that Quinn Hughes play last night, that Quinn Hughes play to keep play alive. To send it to overtime.
Yeah, whoever he murdered on the spreads, like the ankles, just like it was so bad. I thought the guy was sliding over.
Jeremy Lauzon, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was like just retiring to the bench for the rest of the game after that play.
But yeah, that was another game where like similar to Toronto, they got some guys who aren't firing, namely Elias Pettersson, who's being called like the Marner of the Canucks, and yet their other players are stepping up and they're getting good enough goaltending, and special teams is also been a big factor for them. So it's almost like they're playing opposite of Toronto. I was looking it up today, actually. Do you know what the goal differential is on special teams so far?
In the Preds and Canucks?
No,
series?
in the Leafs Bruins series.
The different. Was it like a minus for the Leafs? I think they're probably like what, a -7?
-6, 7-1. They've been outscored 7-1 on the power play so far.
Well, we already know it's only been one power play goal. I was just trying. I couldn't remember how many Boston had to this point.
Yeah. So when you're losing the special teams battle 7-1 through 5 games, you're not going to win a lot of them. But anyways, that was just an aside. But yeah, so as far as those teams go, I think Nashville's cooked. I think the Canucks going back there, I think they win it. I think the Islanders, I'm with you. I think
can I totally see the Jets crashing out? I could.
I could see all 4 teams kind of getting who has the best chance. I guess you already said Winnipeg has the best chance to keep it alive. I don't know, where does Toronto rank, I suppose? If you had to put these in like a power ranking for teams that you feel, confident that they could keep their season alive, Toronto, Nashville, Winnipeg, and the Islanders, where does Toronto rank?
I have them second.
Behind Winnipeg. I think I'm with you. Yeah. I was gonna maybe say Toronto might stand the best chance to keep things alive, but then I remembered they might not be without Auston Matthews.
Yeah, like if Auston Matthews is playing, I'd probably put a little higher because the Jets have just been ever since they won game 1. Colorado's just like, okay, we're just gonna have to step up for a goaltender who's not performing well. And
yeah, but he's played well then the last couple of games too.
And then, well, that's because the rest of the team has I think he found his confidence back. Like the team, like everyone was ready to throw Georgiev out the window, and he's come back and he's been good.
Yeah,
and Cale Makar has been Cale Makar, and man, what a player,
dude, unbelievable. I picked up a couple nice Cale Makar cards at the card show over the weekend. He's a stud. Absolute stud muffin, I would say. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Colorado. I think Colorado ends it though. I really do. I think they're just too good. They overmatch the Winnipeg Jets. McKinnon is just unbelievable. Makar, same thing. Nichushkin's got like 6 goals, bro. Like Nichushkin's been unreal. Terry Lehkonen leads the NHL, leads the NHL in I think high danger shots or something. Yeah,
Miles Wood had a big game 2. I think it was game 2. He had a big one. Like, yeah. When I was kind of hoping that other guys would step up for the Leafs, Colorado kind of had that for them. Like, of course, McKinnon still, I think he's second on the team in points. Makar's first, but Terry Lehkonen's right there.
Completely forgot to mention one more thing about the lineup actually before we take off here.
Oh yeah, Timothy Liljegren.
Yes, it looks like Dave's going to get his wish where he won't have to watch TJ Brody out on the ice tonight. Timothy Liljegren will check back in for Timothy Brody. So it's possible Game 4 was the last time we saw Brody on the ice in a Maple Leaf uniform. We'll see. Ooh. Was tonight the last time we saw Stammer in a Bolts uniform?
You see him hanging out after the game. He didn't want to get off the ice.
Well, I think he was waiting for everyone else to get off the ice. But yeah,
but that to me, man, how sad. But it's again, they've given every player 8-year deals, and then they're like, sorry,
too old. I don't know. Too old, injured.
The thing is, he's 34. He's still averaging like 90 points a season.
Dude, if he wants a few mil, I'm sure they'll bring him back on a few mil. But if he wants to be paid appropriately, they're not going to be able to do that.
I think they could find some way to bring him back. But I also just think they're not gonna let him kind of dictate and get a big payday out of it. I think they realize they can't afford it,
which sucks, man. Like, captain of their team, like this team was so bad for so many years, and he pulled them out of it. I mean, his number's gonna be retired one day. 91 will be in the rafters for sure.
1,000%.
Brought them home 2 cups. Had the most electric one shift of all time in that
That
first
was my
Stanley Cup.
I remember watching that. That was the bubble, right?
Yeah, bubble game. It's like, oh, Stammer, welcome back, and then he was out for the
Yeah,
rest
he's
of the
like,
game.
yeah,
He, like one shift,
I
scored a
think he
goal.
blew out his
out.
groin or something.
Yeah, he's like,
scoring.
I'm done. I'm out. Well, he wasn't even supposed to play, and he somehow got cleared to go out play in the cup final in one of the games, scored a goal, and then didn't even finish the game. It was the most electric 5 minutes ever. But yeah, hey, hats off to Stammer if that is it for him in Tampa. Hell of a career.
Hey, Stammer, just don't stay in the Atlantic. Go find another division.
Yeah, hey, you want finishers, goal scorers, playoff goal scorers in this city? I'll take hometown Steven Stamkos.
I would take. I wanted him so badly when he was a free agent all those years ago.
Yeah, I'll take him now.
Oh, yeah, I would take him for sure.
Yeah, so don't. What are you talking about?
No. I like if he decides,
come home.
I'll take him coming home.
Come home.
No. He's only allowed to stay in the Atlantic if he's coming to Toronto. If he's looking anywhere else in the Atlantic, get out of here.
Yeah,
I hear Locked On Senators have got their sights set on Stamkos. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did see that.
I don't know. They couldn't afford almost couldn't afford Shane Pinto. How are they going to afford Steven Stamkos?
Or DeBrincat. Yeah. Anyway, Dave, I hope this isn't the final pre-show of the season.
I swear if this is the last one, I'm not going to be happy either.
No. It's been a blast, man. It's been a blast. So hopefully we can keep it going at least one.
I don't want to spend a month talking about no movement clauses, okay, Mike? I don't want to spend a month talking about no movement clauses.
Where are the Marlies at? The Marlies?
They're out.
They're done. So
stupid Belleville.
Yeah, they lost.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Kyle Clifford just gooning up the handshake line.
I didn't even know what happened.
Oh, we'll talk about it. Because after the Belleville Senators eliminated the Marlies, Kyle Clifford just went berserk on. I gotta remember the guy's name. Him and who was the guy that he went after? Oh yeah, Bokoni Imama.
Boko Imama. Yeah.
Those two guys have had a rivalry through the years. I know that. And apparently,
really?
Yeah. So during the handshake line, Clifford just turned, saw the guy, and went after him. And the handshake line almost it almost turned into a brawl. Fortunately, the other players were
dude, I was so out of it. Was that over the weekend?
Yeah, it happened. It happened on the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so out of it with the card show. It's so difficult to track everything that's going on. I'm like, all right, got to watch the Leafs, and outside of that, I'm in full hockey card mode.
I don't think I've ever seen it happen in a handshake line like that.
That sounds. I gotta go watch the video. I'm gonna go watch the video now.
Marley's coach wasn't happy about what Clifford did, but he also said credit to the players for kind of letting that happen and finishing the handshake line and not letting it. Remember, the Leafs always want respect in the handshake line, and then Kyle Clifford goes and does that. Not great.
Dave, why you gotta bring up old sores, buddy? Why you gotta bring that up?
Because my mind, because I'm scarred. Okay, scarred.
All right. Let's end the show here before you bring up any more bad memories. That'll do it for us today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms, including up on YouTube. Get yourself some daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back for another episode tomorrow. I hope it's not a post-mortem episode, buddy. I really hope it's not. Enjoy Game 5 tonight. Go Leafs, go. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.